Once again, Aston Martin has revived a famous nameplate, melding it with the latest in 21st century engineering to create a brand new Halo model. Now, if their DB11 AMR simply isn't fast enough, well, you might consider getting one of these instead. Debuting in 1967, the DBS was introduced as a flagship model for the Aston Martin brand. Just 2 years later, thanks to the addition of a V8 engine, it became the world's fastest four-seat production car. And that high-performance heritage continues today with the DBS Superleggera, a lightweight two-door exotic, the British brand's replacement for the Vanquish S. Now, if a car is going to play the role of super grand tourer, which is what they're billing this as, it has got to look the part, and I think this one most certainly does. Most Aston Martins are cleanly styled and elegant, but the DBS Superleggera is something else, far more aggressive than the gentlemanly DB11 on which it's based, downright fuming with that bold honeycomb grille taking center stage. Larger side vents help air escape from the wheel wells, which, by the way, are filled by standard 21-inch rims wrapped in bespoke Pirelli tires. An F1-inspired double diffuser at the back and plenty of other aerodynamic tweaks help this car deliver 180 kilograms, that's nearly 400 pounds of downforce at top speed, all with no drag penalty. Many of the DBS Superleggera's body panels are made of carbon fiber, including the hood and trunk lid, though this high-tech and very expensive material, well, it doesn't cut as much fat as you might expect, only about 72 kilograms, which is roughly 160 pounds, which means this car is still rather heavy, clocking in at about 1,700 kilos, which is in the neighborhood of 3,700 pounds. But it shrugs that bulk off like it's nothing thanks to this, a buttery smooth yet thundering V12 with a lung capacity of 5.2 liters and, of course, twin turbochargers. It conjures up an astounding 715 horsepower along with 664 pound-feet of torque. And I think we all know what happens when you drop a big muscular engine in a relatively small lightweight car. You get speed, and lots of it. This thing will go from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in just 3.4 seconds. It'll do 0 to 100 miles an hour in 6.4. Terminal velocity, 211 mph. But it's not just a straight line brute. This car is designed to be approachable enough for drivers of all skill levels. It's entertaining enough to keep professional racers happy, yet it's still easy enough to live with that more novice motorists aren't going to soil themselves on the first test drive. And even for me, a baboon with glasses and parted hair, it's fantastic. Now, out back we've got an active exhaust system, as you would expect in a high-powered Aston Martin, and it's capped off by quad tips. And what engineers have really done with this car is ensure there's greater separation between each of its three different driving modes, so this car can be exceptionally refined when you need it to be, but it will also absolutely rip when you want a little extra drama in your life. As in the standard DB11, we've got a rear-mounted ZF 8-speed automatic gearbox. It's driven by a prop shaft enclosed in a torque tube, everything you'd expect in a modern Aston Martin. But in this car, the DBS Superleggera, they've gone with a gearbox with a higher torque capacity because, again, the engine is so much more powerful. Ensuring you can control this car's vast amount of power, carbon ceramic brakes are standard. Now, up front, you've got 410 millimeter rotors. That's more than 16 inches. It's absolutely huge, and they're clamped by 6 piston calipers, so stopping performance should never be an issue, and frankly, neither should brake fade. Now, aside from all the extra power the DBS Superleggera has compared to its stablemate, the DB11 AMR, one of the other major differences I've noticed between this car and other Aston Martins is the immediacy of the steering. It's even crisper, even sharper than the DB11, which is quite a remarkable achievement because the DB11 is very good to drive on its own, and the body remains flat even through tight corners, even with the suspension in its softest setting, which is pretty much what I've left it in during my test drives here, and it's a remarkable balance between comfort and sport. I love the exhaust. It's so good. Every car should have a dozen cylinders. It should be like a legal requirement in the EU or something. On the throttle off. Throttle on and lift. Dip in, lift. In, out. In, out. That never gets old. Burble on demand. Deliveries of this Super Grand Tour are slated to begin in the fourth quarter of the year, which of course is not that far off at this point. And for y'all living in America, base price is about $310,000, so you better start saving your pocket change. Oh, and you might want to cash in all those savings bonds Grandma gave you as a kid. Hey there! Before you leave, please subscribe to the AutoGuide.com YouTube channel. It is your all-access pass to some of the greatest videos on the interweb. You can get more episodes of Curb. You can check out the short list. There's auto show news, other list stories, and a whole lot more. That's a whole lot of bang for your clickin' buck.